Text 26. Atha chainam nityajatam nityam va manyase mrutam tadhapi tvam mahabaho nainam sochitum arhasi. Krishna here is giving another argument why Arjuna should fight. The previous verses talked about the soul being indestructible, inexhaustible, and cannot be perceived by our senses, cannot be conceived by our understanding, cannot be destroyed by weapons. And now he's saying, up to the previous verse, the idea was that soul was a separate entity on its own, and it is beyond material dimension. But somebody may argue, no, I will not accept it. Whatever you say, I will not accept it. It is still, I consider it as combination of material elements. So Krishna is now saying, okay, assuming that you are not accepting my version, let's go with your thought. Ata chainam nitya jatam nityam va manyase mrutam. If you think that the soul is nitya jatam nityam va manyase mrutam, so eternally, perpetually being born and always dies. What does it mean? So Krishna here, he is, for the sake of argument, he is agreeing that, let's say we agree to the fact that the soul is nothing but, or the consciousness is nothing but a combination of material elements. So that's why Prabhupada says, when Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita, it appears that such philosophies existed. What is that philosophy? That there is no belief in the separate existence of the soul beyond the body. Some of the philosophies Prabhupada quotes here, like the Lokayatikas and Vaibhashikas. So the Lokayatikas and Vaibhashikas are the example of, just like the modern education that is imparted to us, which says that there is no separate soul. It's just the combination of the bodily elements. Even if you assume that that was the case, the person is behaving because of particular combination. So we don't lament for the loss of chemicals, isn't it? It is just a bunch of chemicals, and they are produced at a certain point, they combine together at certain point, and at certain point they get annihilated. So, and like that, this combination is going on and on and on. So, what is the need for lamentation? Nityam va manyase mrutam, nityam jatam, nityam mrutam. Tadhapi tvam mahabaho na enam sochitum arhasi. So then why do you need to worry about the soul? You never worry if you waste so many chemicals, if you waste so many arrows in the battlefield. If the soul is just a combination of chemicals, why do we have to worry about it? So that is the point Krishna is making here. So the Darwin theory of evolution basically says that there were no humans existed before certain point in time. Like the number that we have is about 1.3 million years, or little around that, 1.8 million years ago, or maybe more. So the human being species evolved, and before that there was this monkey species from which we were evolved, and like that they would trace back to the single-celled animals from which the life began, and how that single-celled animal or the species began, nobody knows. So it is just a mess of understanding. It is just a complete speculation and not based on solid authority. So as long as you speculate, there will be many such speculations. and people are under confusion which one to accept. So Bhagavad Gita resolves that speculation. It is a knowledge which is given 5,000 years back. Of course, the modern history, they don't have history beyond 3 centuries, or rather 3,000 years. So they cannot understand what has happened. They would think that life was primitive before those 3 centuries, 3,000 years. Life was primitive and man has become evolved only recently. Earlier they were all primitive. They were not knowing how to cure the disease, how to live a proper life, wearing proper clothes, using proper technology. So this is the kind of understanding we have. One time a person asked me a question. In fact, we are more advanced because our life expectancy has improved, and we are able to get medicine to deadly diseases. But the point here is why the deadly diseases are coming only now. You solve one disease and then there is another deadly disease. You solve, of course, there is no solution to many of these deadly diseases now. You can only contain it to a certain extent. And one disease after the other disease. Even the life expectancy, yes, of course, if you improve your sanitary conditions, hygienic conditions, life expectancy is improved. But we cannot compare against the last 50 years, 100 years. We do know for a fact that the previous generation, they lived for a longer life compared to what we know 30, 40, 50 years. Even the improvement of life expectancy is actually becoming a source of problem. Because, at least in the US, because of hygienic conditions, the life expectancy is much, much higher. People live for 80 years, 90 years and beyond. And instead of the life duration becoming like a pyramid, meaning there will be a lot of people at a young age at the base of the pyramid. And as the pyramid goes up or the age goes up, there will be less number of people. And as the age goes to 80 and 90, there will be very few people. That is how the ideal pyramid should look like. But in US recently, what has been happening is, instead of this growing like a pyramid, it is almost becoming like a cylinder. It is growing flat, meaning there will be equal number of people at the base level as well as at the top level. As a result, the population of the old people is becoming so huge, and there are not enough people to take care of the old people, and the old people are becoming lonely, and they are becoming severely stressed. One of the biggest problems, of course, we know that old age is itself a big problem, and the old people are unable to bear the stress, loneliness. They are deserted by the younger generations, and they call this 911 just to speak to somebody. For want of speaking to somebody, they become so desperate and they commit suicide.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes. Okay. So, Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. These are the 4 problems that Bhagavad Gita says. We may paint a rosy picture that we have solved we have increased the life expectancy problem. But the reality of life is old age is a distressful condition. Of course, we have to be compassionate and we have to provide all the necessary facilities for taking care of old people. But that doesn't deny the fact that old age is a very horrible condition of existence. And a sane man will understand from scriptures and will try to solve the problems of life. So the point is not whether, we are not debating whether the modern day advancement has not achieved anything, but we are debating that the advancement has not been used towards advancing spiritually. Without advancing spiritually, how much ever advancement you make materially, that will not help solve the basic problems of life. If you solve the problem of one disease, it doesn't mean that you are going to not die. If you solve the problem of increasing the life expectancy, it doesn't mean that you are not going to die. It doesn't mean that you will be rid of the mental agitations you will face in the old age. So this is the missing point. So Prabhupada wrote a book or article, Consciousness, the Missing Link. It's a very thought-provoking article where Prabhupada explains that the missing thing in the modern day advancement is the focus on consciousness or the soul, the platform of soul. So we are all working on the platform of body. Just like the same example of the parrot in the cage, in the cage, and we take care of the cage and leaving the parrot. And the parrot dies its careless death, uncared for by its owner. So these kind of philosophies, they will be good from an intellectual point of view, but they cannot help in solving the problems of life. So, but Krishna here says, assuming that even if you agree that there is this kind of philosophy that exists, but then what is the issue in killing some bunch of chemicals? So that's the point. The science of anthropology is based on this philosophy. So what is anthropology? Anthropology means it's basically a study of human experience or humans' evolution. How different aspects of human beings came about gradually. That is the kind of study that they do. It's called anthropology. There are many people who do research in anthropology, and to some extent Darwin's theory of evolution can be considered as a branch of anthropology. So what are the points here? Yeah, so Krishna here addressing Arjuna as Mahabahu. O Mahabahu means, O mighty armed, because Krishna sarcastically is addressing. Krishna, only for argument's sake, he accepted this philosophy of life coming out from the bunch of chemicals. But he didn't believe that Arjuna would accept such a materialistic and nonsense philosophy as that. That's why he is saying, you are Mahabahu, don't tell me that you accept this kind of theory like Vaibhashikas or Lokayatikas. So as a Kshatriya, Arjuna belonged to the Vedic culture, and it behooved him to continue to follow its principles. So we can probably do the next one also. Can you do the translation? Leave the word to word, Mataji. Just do the verse, translation and purport.
Which one, Prabhu? Sorry.
27. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada. So it's a beautiful poetic verse. So what Krishna says here, Jatasya hi dhruvo mrutyur dhruvam janmam mrutasya cha. Dhruvaha means certain or fact. It is fixed, dhruvam. Like Dhruva Maharaj, fixed determination, unshakable, immovable. So jatasya hi, what is that fact? That for everyone who is born, jatasya hi mrutyuhu dhruvaha. It is a fact that he has to die. Nobody can change it. It is fixed. Jatasya hi mrutyur dhruvaha. And what is also fixed? Dhruvam janma mrutasya cha. One who dies, again he has to take birth. So jatasya hi mrutyur dhruvaha, and for mrutasya janma is dhruvaha. So therefore apariharye ardhe. This is unavoidable. You cannot avoid the death of your relatives or your superiors. Apariharye ardhe in this matter. Natvam sochitum arhasi. So this natvam sochitum arhasi comes multiple times in this last few verses. Even in 25 it came, 26 it came. 25 it came as nanu sochitum arhasi. 26 it came as nainam sochitum arhasi. And now natvam sochitum arhasi. So it's a different kind of usage of a similar verse. So Krishna says, this is an unavoidable fact. The birth is certain for one who has died, and one who is born is certain to die. So this is the fact of life. So this is again another philosophical point of our Vedic literature, that there is going to be reincarnation. Of course, for those who become spiritually advanced, who become Krishna conscious, completely liberated from the effects of material contamination, for them there is no material birth. They will attain their original spiritual position in the abode of the Lord, either in Vaikuntha or the supreme abode Goloka Vrindavan, in the Krishna's place. But others who are not so fortunate, who are not so purified, based on their mental disposition, they take birth. Based on their disposition of their subtle body, they take birth. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tam evaiti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavita. So it is like a soul is attached to its mental body, or the soul has a subtle body, and which is the first covering, and then there is this gross body, which is the next covering. The soul is attached to this subtle and gross matters. And at the time of death, even though the gross matter is destroyed, because the soul is attached to the subtle matter, subtle body, wherever the subtle body is taken, the soul goes. So the Yamadutas, they come and take away this subtle body with the ropes of Yamapasha, and the soul, because the soul is always attached to this subtle body, the soul also goes. So it is like indirectly. Otherwise the soul, in the material world, there is no jurisdiction. The soul belongs to the spiritual world. But because he has used his free will to become attached to this subtle body, then he also becomes subject to this miseries of the material world. Sukha, dukkha, sita, ushna, mana, apamana, like that. So one who becomes freed from this bondage of or attachment to the subtle and gross body, he becomes transcendental to these dualities. Jitatmanaha prashantasya paramatma samahitaha sitoshna sukha dukkeshu tadha manapamanayo. So one who has become jitatmanaha, one who has conquered this attachment to this gross and subtle bodies, for him he becomes prashantatma. Prabhupada says that prashantatma means one who has attained samadhi on meditation on the Supreme Lord, either in the heart or to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. So either to the Paramatma or to the Supreme Lord Himself. So that person is jitatmanah prashantasya paramatma samahitaha. He has attained his concentration on the Paramatma. And for him, Sita Ushna. We suffer from the effects of heat and cold. Yesterday we had to go out in the evening taking kids, and it was very, very cold. We had to wear like 2-3 layers. And sometimes in summer it becomes very hot. So we know that Sita Ushna, we are severely affected by it. And Sukha Dukkha. There is mental Sukha and mental Dukkha. So Sita Ushna is on the bodily level. Sukha Dukkha is on the mental level. And Mana Apamana, fame and infamy, is on the ego level. But either of them, it's all on the material level. So a person who has attained communion or thinking of the lotus feet of the Lord, he becomes immune or transcendental to these dualities. So he won't have to undergo this repeated birth and death. So what is the verse in 4th chapter where Krishna says, on one condition, you will not have to take birth again.
Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo vitti tattvata tyaktva griham punarjanma naiti mameti sohchu.
Yes. So one who understands Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo vetti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sohchu. So it is just like if you understand the subject matter, you will easily pass the exam. So if you understand the subject matter of God and spirit soul and the relation between God and spirit soul, then obviously you will easily pass the exam at the time of death. So you don't have to worry about it. So the point is to understand about Janma Karma of the Supreme Lord, which brings about transformation in the heart by cleansing the sinful desires. Then we don't have to undergo this. Even though this is a fact in this material world, dhruvam, jatasya hi dhruvam mrityur, dhruvam janma mritasya cha. But on that condition, janma karma cha me divyam, 4.9, we don't have to obey this or get obliged by this material nature's principle. So the point Krishna is making here is, it is inevitable, O Arjuna. So you have to anyway carry out your duty. Anyway it is going to be inevitable. So you have to carry out your duty as a Kshatriya, and you purify yourself by carrying out the duty of a Kshatriya. Otherwise, you will be incurred with sinful reaction. So what more honor for you to follow than to follow the order of the Supreme in exchange in doing your duty. And by doing your duty, you are not doing anything more disastrous than what the material nature would anyway do to them. So you should be happy about it. So any other questions on that? Comments?